Hello everyone. Today we are going to have a video where we learn how to find statistical calculations on our TI-84 graphing calculator. In quantitative reasoning, you have or you will yet learn about such topics as mean, median, mode, standard deviation, variance, range, all sorts of calculations that we can perform when we're working with statistics. When we have a short list of data, all of those calculations are very doable. However, in the real world, sometimes we have long lists of data that, although the calculations might be doable by hand, they may not be realistic. Okay? Thankfully, in this day and age, we have technology. And one of the ways that we can calculate these statistical items is using our TI-84 graphing calculator. Where we're going to be working is this button that says STAT, Statistics. I'm going to change my view here so that we can see the buttons a little bit larger. This is your calculator screen over here, and this is the keypad of your calculator. I'm just trying to make things a little bit larger for you. So I'm going to push Stats. Okay, Stats. This is like a mini Excel spreadsheet. If you've worked with Excel on the computer, that might give you a little bit of an idea of what we're working with here, but if not, no big deal. Let's suppose that we need to enter a list of data, okay? Across the top here, when you select Stats, you have Edit, Calculate, and Test, okay? If you were in a full-blown statistics course, you would be using this quite a bit. We're just going to get your feet wet. Under the Edit menu, the very first thing says Edit. That's where you enter your list of data. So I'm going to go ahead and push Enter. Okay, this is our Excel spreadsheet for those of you who have seen that. Across the top, the header of each column, we have L1, L2, L3, L4, L5. That stands for List 1, List 2, List 3, List 4, List 5. Okay, this is the format that we want to be in. If someone has used your calculator before, these titles may not be here. Okay. To get them there, you move the cursor up top here. The L1, L2, L3 is actually on your keypad here, and on my calculator they're in blue. So if for some reason this said L7 instead of L1 here, I could put L1 back at the beginning by pushing second and then number 1 because L1 is right above it. And I could rename that first list L1, which I already have. But please make sure that you do have L1 in this first column here, and across the top it would make sense to put that in order. In L1, list 1, we want to enter our data. Let's just put in a list of 5 numbers, okay? Let's go ahead and put in 5, 10, 12, 24, and 32. Okay, just a random list of numbers. I type them in and push enter after each one. That is our list. Now you could put in a list of 100 numbers there. Okay, you can put a long list of numbers, which makes this calculator program very, very nice to use, especially with large data. Just for the sake of time, I'm going to only enter those 5 numbers in though. Okay, so we have our list of data. Suppose we want to find the mean, the median, the mode, the standard deviation, any of those things. We want to do a calculation on this data. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the Stats button. So the very first option, this Edit column, these are different things that we could do with the data. Edit is where you enter data. Sort A is if you want to sort it ascending. Sort D is to sort it descending. This is to clear the list, okay? None of those are going to be real essential at this point. The sorting would be slick, but for now, I want you to go over to Calc, okay? This header here, Calc for calculator, push over. This is where we want to get some of our calculations. The very first thing is the one that we're going to be using, one variable statistics. One variable statistics. So go ahead and push enter. This screen may look different depending on the operating system of the calculator that you have. If you have a newer calculator, it's going to prompt you saying which list you want us to use. If you have an older calculator, it will not be asking that. I will show you what to do. Leave the frequency list blank, don't put anything there. So if you have this screen coming up, make sure you have L1 or whichever list you put your data in. If you happen to put your data in L5, you would come over here and push second L5, okay, but we don't want that. We want L1 because that's where I put my data, okay, and then I'm going to push down and down to calculate and push enter, okay. Now, for those of you who didn't have that screen prompt you like I just had on the previous screen, you will have OneVerStats just flashing on the main screen, okay. By default, it will be using L1. If you wanted to use any other list besides L1, you would, after you see OneVerStats show up on the screen, you would type in second, whichever list you want to use, and then push enter. Regardless, whichever way you use, you should get to this screen. The trickiest thing on this screen is to understand what in the world these symbols mean. Now, I've defined all of these symbols on your Canvas page that we've been using with this assignment. So you might want to pull up that screen so you can follow along with what each symbol means. Okay. The first symbol here, X with a line over it, that stands for X bar. Okay. That is an average. It's a sample average. The 16.6 is the average of those 5 numbers that I entered. Could we find that by hand? Sure. Add up the numbers, divide by 5, you would get the same value, okay? But if I gave you a list of 200 numbers, we could do that. We could add up all those 200 numbers, then divide by 200, but it's quite a bit faster to use our technology here, okay? The next one, this little E looking symbol and then X. This is a summation sign, okay? This is saying, what if you add up all the X's, all the numbers on your list? If you would add up all the numbers on your list, you would get an 83. May not be a useful information for you. It may be. It just depends on what you're doing with the data. The next symbol, again, we have this little E looking thing that stands for summation, X squared. X stands for the numbers on our list. So this is the sum of all of the squared numbers on our list. So if I would square the first number on my list, square the second, square the third, square the fourth, square the fifth, and then add them all up, I would get 1,869. Why do we care? At this point we don't, but it could be a useful calculation dependent on what you are doing with it. Then we have S with an X after it, and then this little cursive O looking thing with an X after it. This S with an X after it is your sample standard deviation, 11.0 approximately, 11.08. This is the standard deviation for your data. Now we saw how to calculate that by hand. We could do it, but it's sure not fun. It takes quite a bit of time. That is the sample standard deviation. The next symbol is this cursive looking O. That is for a population standard deviation. If the data was from an entire population, that is our standard deviation. Little n stands for the number of numbers on your list. We had 5 numbers on our list. The minimum number on our list, the smallest number on our list, is a 5. Q1. Okay, we learn about the 5-number summary and quartiles. We learn about that in section 6B. The first quartile is 7.5. Now notice off to the side I have a down arrow. If you push down, there's more. So the min was 5, the first quartile was 7.5. MED stands for median. The middle of your list, the median, is 12. Q3 is the third quartile, that is 28, and the maximum number on your list is a 32. All of these values could be found by hand, but especially when you're looking at a long list of numbers, it's quite a bit faster to be able to find these by hand. I know in quantitative reasoning, some of these symbols may not have been used, but you're going to see them on the calculator here. So if you want to use this feature of the calculator, I wanted to run through what all of these symbols mean. Okay, hopefully that helps you out with how to use the calculator to your advantage when working with statistics. Good luck.